welcome, Louise Detlefsen. Unfortunately, you're sitting here alone today because Louise nummer 2, Louise Detlefsen, she's ill. And we send, of course, our greetings to her. It's a pity. We would have loved to have her too. Welcome to the festival in a little strange and special manner this year, but we will see how we manage. It's a pity for your wonderful film. We would have loved to screen it on the big screen, of course, but I think it's such a strong film with such a strong message, so it's worth watching it anyway. Being it on the phone, on the iPad, or whatsoever, just go and stream it. Well, how did you run into these 4 young women? Because they're not usually together in their everyday life, but they're from different countries. They're from Norway, from Sweden, from Denmark. How did you sort of run into them and into the theme?
Actually, the 4 protagonists, they are all part of this this movement. It's a fat positive or fat activist movement, and we met them. I think we came into this movement on Instagram by accident in some way, because we followed some women and they followed some other, and all of a sudden we were exposed to one of the first one was Vilde, the Norwegian protagonist, she was dancing very happy in almost no clothes, showing her body and feeling just free with her body to the music. And we began reading the message of her and other women in this movement about getting rid of shame and taking back the feeling of joy and pleasure, also for women with a fat body. And actually, me and Louise Detlefsen, the other director, we are colleagues and old friends, and we've been making documentaries together on and off for 20 years. And we were lying at a bathing facility north of Copenhagen, in this women's department, where all naked bodies. And we began talking about this, how much time we ourselves has lost in this attempt to lose weight. I mean, Monday morning, starting on a diet, giving up 2 weeks later, starting over again, going into group therapy to discuss how to lose 5 kilos or something. And we were just beginning to, what is happening? It was in some way unbelievable. What are these women doing? I mean, how can they even love their body if they're fat? It was so new to us. And because the way we have been brainwashed into looking on fat bodies was that fat is ugly. Fat is something you don't want to be. And we have ourselves been spending time to try to slim, to not be fat at all, even though we have never been actually fat, but we have felt the pressure on our bodies. So yes, that was the starting point, actually, that also we were a bit skeptical. Is it really true that they feel, are they happy with their body even though it's fat? Can it be true? So we were curious, but also we had this skepticism to try to dig into this community.
Yeah, fat people are often very, very good at hiding their feelings, you know. They always try to take over the funny part, you know. That's so very often you meet that, and they don't want to show their real inner feelings, because often there's a story that really hurts.
Yeah, true. So just to finish up on it, then we, for a long period of time, we were just actually following the movement on Instagram, following new women all the time, reading. And then we decided, this is so interesting. There are so many women who just want to get rid of this ideal of beauty and to change the way that women look upon their own bodies, to get rid of discrimination. So let's make a documentary about it. And from then on, we decided quite quickly, we will not make the stereotypes of fat women. So we wanted our protagonists to be the opposite of what is shown in fiction movies, where fat people, they're always lazy, dull, sitting in a couch, being the funny sidekick. So we thought that we should look for protagonists who are just as other young women, energetic, smart, humorous, full of life, full of dreams. And so that was the criteria that we decided upon, and then quite quickly we actually found our 4 protagonists.
I mean, you have the impression when you watch the movie that they feel very, very comfortable with what they're doing there, today at least. How did they start off? Could you see any development from the beginning of the film towards the end of the film? What did it do to them to make this film?
Let me say that, yes, I think they developed during the filming period, which was 1.5 years actually that we followed them in different phases. But I think that they were in such a personal development when we met them that I cannot say that the film added that they had our attention, but I think that they were in such a personal development that it would have happened anyhow. But the development wasn't going from shame to liberation. It was more shame, from shame, liberation, shame, liberation, shame. I mean, the way that they fight to overcome the shame, it's not a linear growth. I think it's really struggling to try to learn to love yourself, and all the things that they have, I mean, all their lives they had told themselves, I'm not worthy to get a boyfriend. I should not go to parties. I should stay home. So they had prevented themselves from living. So actually starting to learn to live, to enjoy life, it's such a big task. So I think that we were part of a struggle, and gradually they have become more confident and also more political in their activism. But it's on such a deep level to get rid of shame. Shame is really I think it's an emotion that we talk very little about in our society, but shame makes you passive. Shame isolates you. Shame creates psychological illnesses. So when people say that it's unhealthy to be fat, I think you should really say that it's even more unhealthy on a lot of levels to be ashamed of yourself, because it's such a destructive feeling.
Do you think that this health movement that we have at the moment is over exaggerated and putting even more pressure on people like with eating disorders? Because I was so shocked about this one scene in the film when I think it was it Wilde that told that her parents put her on a diet as a girl already? I mean, that's really crazy. You want the best for your child, and you know that children undergo a certain development, and there will be phases where you maybe have a little bit more, and then you will grow again. I mean, how can you do that to your own child? That was really shocking, I think.
Yeah, it is. I think that was what really hit us in the heart when we began our research, was to hear the similar or also different stories from their childhood. How that they had, from quite young children, they had felt from the parents, but from school teachers, from schoolmates, from society, really, they knew that my body is wrong. And the feeling of being wrong have been so destructive in their lives. And one of the protagonists, Pauline, I mean, it created actually kind of an eating disorder that she's still struggling with. But your question, you asked me something different.
Yeah, I asked you about the health movement. Yeah, how's that? Because I feel that they constantly have to sort of defend themselves in this defending position. I mean, that's not what it's all about, really.
I think that to some extent you can compare the discrimination of fat people to, I mean, racism or other kinds of discrimination. That it's so rooted in our system. We have been so brainwashed that fat is unhealthy, fat is bad, that we believe that it's invisible for us. But but we treat fat people really bad in our society. And even though a lot of statistics and doctors tell us that you can be healthy and fat,
right?
You can also be unhealthy and thin. I mean, it's not really getting into our system. So I think that what could happen now is that we really realize that the way that we treat fat people is because the body shape and is very much connected to power. And like we discussed with racism, that different kinds of races and skin color have different kinds of power or privilege. I think this is what will happen now, that we find out that thinness is such a powerful instrument, because I mean, in history, women has used their beauty in order to survive in society and get a man who could support them financially. But when we decompose that system, new things will happen. And I think that is also why I mean, my colleague Louise Detlefsen, she had to excuse herself to her daughter when we were in the process of making the film, because she said, "I'm so sorry that I have been talking to you. Don't eat so much ice cream, please. You shouldn't eat so much bread. You'll get fat. It's not good for you." Because we do it, everybody. We do it all the time because we want our children to be accepted, to be successful. And the structure in society is that thin is you're more able to achieve success. So this is not only about dieting or health. This is about a structure of power and a way to prison women with their beauty.
Did you fall over maybe also fat young men during this movie? Because this is only about the woman, and of course we can all agree that females are under more pressure because we get more judged according to what we look like than men do, really. But we see a movement in Germany as well, that men are sort of taking upon themselves the same kind of pressure to be perfect, you know, to be shaved from body to toe. I don't know, no hair anywhere, you know, solar brown, six pack. I don't know. It's going in both directions in a way. Do you have any experience under the film with that?
When we began, which is more than 3 years ago, there were very, very few men visible in this movement. And I mean, it's also, this is not a movement which is organized in some central way. I mean, this is really a grassroots movement. So if you come into different countries, the movement will look differently. But we didn't see very many men active at that point. And I also think that we make documentaries from a personal perspective, and we weren't interested so much in men because we wanted to reflect our own experiences and prejudice. So we were looking exclusively at women and the female body, also because you know, you have body positivism, you have fat activism, you have different kinds of body activism, and but there is a part of there is a feminist and political agenda also within the movement. And I think that we really felt that it was important that should also be part of the message underneath the film.
I remember when I was studying in Denmark very many years ago, I was sort of like, still swimming on this how you say, bølge, this wave from 68 in a way. And there was this movement in the 70s, which was called, I think, Fat Underground or something like that. So there has been something similar before, but that was, of course, very, very tight knitted to political points of view and women's liberation. What would you say is the difference today from this new body activism movement compared to what we had then?
I think it is the diversity. I mean, this is really a grassroots movement, and it's for everybody. So it's for all kind of, you know, you don't need to have a special sort of political agenda. You don't need to be active in society. I mean, this is really a movement who is including also the isolated people, because many women who are fat has suffered, have been bullied, or they have self-isolated because they feel unworthy, they feel maybe ugly, they feel ashamed. So the fact that this is based on like an online network makes it possible for everybody to access. Maybe somebody would not dare to go to a meeting, actually to meet some strangers in a meeting, or to walk on the street in a demonstration like our protagonist. So somebody is just posting a picture. Look at me, I'm daring to wear jeans and not have this tent skirt. And that can be liberating for the individual. Just taking photos, looking at your body from a new perspective, pouring your heart out to some strangers on the internet, but who you feel connected to. So I think it's really the good side of the internet, the good side of online communication, that you know, you don't need to be so brave or organized to join. It's for everybody. So you have housewives 58 years old, you have teenagers 14, and they can interconnect.
I wondered if they sort of joined later on, because since they got to know, probably through your film, that they existed. I don't think they knew each other before the film, did they? Or
that's a good question, because when we say knew each other, we think that they have met in real life. So no, they before the film, the four of them had not met in real life, but they followed each other
on the internet.
So they were all part of the movement, watching each other's pictures, writing to each other, and of course this connection was even closer when they were all part of the film. And actually, they met for the first time when we were doing a shooting of press photos here in near Copenhagen. And the press photos were that they were to jump from a chair in bikini, and then jump up in the air and down into a swimming pool. So it was really a day where everybody was just in bathing suits, and before the day was over, they were lying in another place where we're in the woods. They were lying naked and just holding each other. Instantly they clicked, because I mean, they knew each other before they even met, and they really share this energy for this fat activism. So it was, now they're true friends also in real life.
Because I found they're also strong personalities, every character for itself, and I thought if those four join and they make a joint activism, you know, that must just explode or something like that, because they have so much power, so much energy. It's a pleasure to watch these girls.
The film had its international premiere at the big documentary festival IDFA in November last year, and they were present there. So they turned up in one in yellow, another one in blue, in green and red, in big gala costumes with, you know, long skirts, and it was the most wonderful evening. So they are really powerful. They're really powerful, but as you can see when you watch the film, they have many layers, and they have had difficult experiences, and so there is more to it than power, but they are quite exceptional.
But getting back to that event there, so they have met their audience, so to say, with the film. How was the reaction from the audience? How do you describe that?
I think I have never had a feeling that like that. We had the premiere here in Scandinavia was in Copenhagen, and again, the four protagonists were just, they got up from the seat themselves, and when the credit music from Jenny Wilson started pouring out of the speakers, they were just dancing in front of the audience, and everybody was standing and cheering, and it was I think we have had the reaction of so much joy, but also we have had long Q&As, debates, people coming up to us as directors and to the protagonists, if they have been present, saying, this reminds me so much of when I was growing up, or I can recognize myself in the parent and my daughter. So people have really opened up with a lot of personal stories. And in Denmark, we have also been traveling with the film to small cinemas around Denmark. And many places, it was quite unusual because you have a small cinema, but it would be filled with fat people. So it was also the feeling that this is really a documentary for everybody. But out in the countryside, we would also see in the cinema more fat people than usual. So I think that we really had this feeling that people outside the movement really have embraced the film.
Of course, it opened up for a lot of acceptance finally. And I found one thing that Pauline said on her blog, which I'd like to say to you, because she says that it was a big step forward for her to make this film, and that they finally are getting the space and they're getting it on their conditions. And that, I think, is a very, very strong sentence to say, because normally you are allowed to be shown in movies or in TV or whatsoever, but you're always in a certain niche. You're always like limited to a certain role model that you play. And here they finally get shown just the way they are, and all their beautifulness and all their personality that they show. I just want to say thank you for that. I think it's a really good film. I'm very, very sorry that we cannot show it on the screen here, but just to finish off, what is your next project? What are you working on at the moment?
Now I'm working on another project, really, which is closely connected to being human. It's about an elder facility. What is it called? Plea? What is plea?
Old people's home, nursing home, yeah.
Yeah, it's an old people's home, a small one where they take all medicine away from the demented, and they treat them with care and with community. So they live in a close community, and they hug them, they touch them, they look into their eyes, they really connect with them on an emotional level. And this really helps them to have a happy life, a joyful. I'm making a joyful or uplifting documentary about dementia, because it's from the perspective of the demented people themselves. And actually, it's planned to have a cinema release in Germany sometime next year.
Okay, then let's hope that really works out and that we get over this virus as soon as possible, so that we can see you in Lübeck next year then, together with Louise, hopefully.
Yeah. We have to kill those animals in Jutland who has some kind of mutation of corona, and everybody has to be vaccinated, and then
okay. Well, then
look forward to that.
We can all look forward to that. Great. Is the next project also with Louise together? Are you two?
Oh no, she's working on a different film. But we work together closely on off. But this is my own project.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Then hopefully we'll see you next year then at the festival with this new project.
Have a wonderful festival, and I mean, everybody we look forward to, shaking hands, hugging, and being together in real life next time.
So true. I couldn't have said it better. Thanks a lot, Louise. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Enjoy the film.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.